Welcome to A Heart for Home Education. My name is America, mother to three, homeschooling in a Charlotte Mason and classical way. Today is part one of talking about my mother culture plans for 2025. So today's going to be kind of a casual video where I am just going to be kind of out loud planning what my mother culture plans are for 2025. So I'm just going to be writing down in my planner some of the habits, some of the books, some of the skills that I want to work on in 2025 to continue to cultivate my own knowledge, my own love of learning, my own love of creating and pursuing what is good and true and beautiful for my own soul, which in turn always brings me closer to the Lord. So that is what this video is going to be. It's just going to be casual, talking about some book lists that I'm going to be using, talking about some of the categories that I'm going to be planning out. So I hope that you grab a cup of something hot and join me. So speaking of cups of something hot, this is a mug that my husband got me for Christmas, and it is a scene of London at Christmas time, which is really special because I was born in London and that's how I got the name of America. My dad was in the US Air Force Reserves and he was stationed in London, England when I was born, and he and my mom were really homesick, and so they were tossing around kind of American themed names like Liberty and like maybe Justice or something, but they landed on America, and that is my name. When I was a little girl, it was really hard to have such a unique name. So I actually went by the name of Erica for a while. And then in 9/11, when there was the attack on the World Trade Center, I started going by the name of America again. And now I love it. I love having a unique name. I wear it proudly. I really enjoy it because most people always remember my name, so that's really helpful. It's just cool having a cool story about my name, and I also love the country that I live in. I do have a nickname. My husband and some family members call me Mare, but other than that, people call me America. Let's get into what we are talking about in today's video. So when I am planning out my next year, I kind of go by like the goals and the thoughts that I structure for my children. So not necessarily goals, but just like what are the realms and the spheres of their development. And then I kind of do the same thing for myself. So for next year, I have this in my planner. This is my Moleskine, I don't know what the word is, soft cover weekly planner. And I'm at the end of it because this was from 2024. And this has been the best planner that I've ever used. I love this. And I am either purchasing this one or the Lectern version of this one for next year. I have used this more than I've used any other planner. So I will kind of show you what a spread looks like. Hopefully it is focusing, but on this side, it has a daily breakdown, just, Monday through Sunday on this side. And on this side is a ruled notebook page. And it is dated, and I just love this because I can plan out my weeks, like I can plan out each day on the left-hand side, and this is where I usually put in things like I have an area to write Bible, I have an area for mother culture. Sometimes if it's a work week, I'll mark that it is a work day or a work week. And then on every single day I write homeschool, laundry, just the tasks that I need to do that day. And I try to look at it every morning so that I can just see how my week is going. But I already kind of talked about this in a different video, and it's not really the point of this video, but I wanted to share this. If you're looking for a planner for next year, this one I highly recommend. This one or the Lectern one I think is very similar. And my favorite part of it is this page right here. So on this ruled page, I usually for each week do a big three, like 3 big goals that I have for that week, and just the 3 main things that I'm focusing on. And honestly, most of the time my first goal is homeschooling. Like that is my first goal for the week. Like if I accomplish a full week of homeschooling, that is wonderful, and I want to be able to check that off on Friday. But I will lay out 3 big goals for the week, and then On Saturday or Sunday at the end of the week, I try to reflect on how the week went. I don't always do this, but it's something really good to do, and I have found that that is where a lot of change and growth happens, is when I reflect on how the week went, when I could just be real about like, wow, I didn't homeschool as diligently as I should have. I did not get to my mother culture multiple days a week. There were 2 days that I missed my Bible readings, things like that. Not to beat myself up, but just to be real about the things that I accomplished and the things that I truly prioritized. And sometimes things come up that I need to feel no guilt over, but you know, the Lord uses conviction in our lives to help us choose the better path in the future. So I try not to shy away from that conviction, but also I'm not trying to beat myself up over how the week went. And so this is a great option, a great planner. And I think I'm going with the Lectern planner next year just because I think it has more pages for not just planner. So like, you know, the bulk of this is planner. There's a couple of blank pages in the back, and there's like monthly overviews at the beginning. But I would like more places to write down things, like kind of like a notebook area. So in the front of this planner, I wrote down the books that I've completed this year, the books that I read this year. And now on the back, in one of the rule notebook sections, I have some categories of things that I want to think about for next year. So I have a category for spiritual life, a category for marriage, for home, for family, for church, and for YouTube. And I don't have homeschool on here, but that's kind of in like my logbook, which is a separate area. But I think I do want to add a homeschool here. And that's not really, I don't anticipate having a ton to write for this because that's kind of a separate category in my mind, mentally. So the first category is spiritual life. This is various spiritual habits or virtues or fruits of the Spirit that I want to focus on for this year. So this past year was self-control, and that was in just various areas of my life. And I have seen a lot of growth in a lot of those areas this past year in my life, but that's just kind of what I'm going to focus on. So for this one, I'm going to be focusing on a virtue and a fruit of the Spirit, and then also tangible daily spiritual life habits. So what does the rhythm of my spiritual life look like? Examining that, and then choosing 1 or 2 like tangible, measurable habits to carry on into next year. And so that is what I will be thinking about for spiritual life. Maybe in part 2, I will share what I end up putting in this category. But for now, that's just kind of a personal area that I'm going to be thinking about, reflecting on. And I might be asking my husband what he thinks I should put there. But yeah, that is the first category that I'm thinking about. And then the next one is marriage. And so my husband and I just celebrated our 12th anniversary on December 21st. He is the most supportive and helpful husband, and I am just so blessed to have him. But of course, we still have things to work on because it is marriage. And so I think he and I, maybe throughout this week, he has the next week off, so maybe he and I can talk about some of the goals that we would like to have for our marriage, and hopefully we can come up with some tangible goals that are like measurable and realistic, and not just heady ideas where we can't really say like, I don't know, did we get better at this? I don't know. So that is what I will be thinking about for marriage and how I'm going to be approaching that. And then the next category is home. I already do have some ideas for this one. One big problem area for me is our playroom and schoolroom. It just gets destroyed and it is a mess usually. And I don't think we have that many toys. I think we have a reasonable amount of toys for the kids that we have. The main issue is the crafts. All of the crafting, all of the pieces of paper, all of the craft materials. So I want my kids, of course, to be able to create, and like that is the room to do it in, but like there needs to be some type of system to clean the room daily, because it's really difficult to like come off of doing a homeschool morning and then like I'm making lunch now, and then like I just kind of forget about the playroom, and then we save it for the evening. And it just, you know, if we have an outing, or if we have church that evening, or like practice or something, then it might not be clean, and then it's very hard for me to either clean it in the morning or just mentally be like, okay, I'm gonna homeschool in a messy room. So let me know if you have tips for keeping your homeschool room clean. I'm so thankful for our homeschool room space. I love it. I'm just so thankful for it. But it is just a monster to keep clean right now. That is why I'm filming out here right now, is because it's destroyed. And not from school, just from Christmas stuff. But so if you have any tips, let me know. But that is one that I want to put on here. I'm going to put homeschool room tidying or organization. I'm not sure. I don't think it's an organization problem. I think it's we need to build the habit of cleaning up and taking care of that space more diligently. And then another one is my recipes. My recipes are a mess. I just purchased a bunch of sheet protectors today, and I'm going to put it all in a binder and organize them, because I should have done this before Christmas, because this Christmas was really hard, because I knew that I would have a recipe. I know I have a recipe printed that I like and use, but they were all disheveled, all a mess. Multiple of them were getting ruined because of, like, you know, grease, butter, whatever. So I'm going to put recipe organization, and I think I might be able to finish that one before the new year. But recipe organization. And then other things that I could put in this category would be like, if we plan any renovations for this year. We don't have any major renovations planned for this year, but we might have some smaller ones, like how my husband built the bookshelf in the schoolroom. Things like that might come up. I'm probably going to need to discuss it with my husband, but that's what would go in this category, is like, are there any zones that are difficult to be tidied, or am I struggling in one zone or area or room of my house with keeping it tidy, keeping it organized, keeping it, you know, whatever it is, that would go in this category. Or if we have any renovations or remodeling plans, that would go in this category. Or if there are any systems that need to be put in place to improve how our household runs. So that's what that category is for me. And then the next one is family. So this one is just kind of like family culture, family routines, family schedules, things like that are going to go in this category. So a friend of mine just sent me this book called Sacred Seasons. I don't have my copy on me right now, but I'll put a picture of it here. Sacred Seasons by Danielle Hutchins, I think. And I really want to go through this book and incorporate a lot of her ideas, which tie in the church calendar, ancient church practices, along with like modern cultural practices during the church calendar for the year. So she has ideas for Lent, she has ideas for Advent, for common times, and things like that. So I want to go through that and establish more of those rhythms and routines in our family. This Advent season was so beautiful and amazing for our family. It was just a really, really special time, and the Advent candles added so much warmth and light and anticipation, and the books that we read did the same. And so it was just a really enjoyable season, and I want to carry more of that into common times. Now, of course, it can't be as celebratory during just common calendar times, but even just on regular days, we can add in rhythms and routines to bring us closer together as a family. So those are those are some of the things that I'm putting in the family section. Maybe for you, you want to do a homemade pizza and family game night on Friday nights, or you want to do a Saturday family hike. You want to make sure to visit your grandparents more, things like that. So that's what I'm going to be putting in the family category. This isn't like individual habits for each of my children. It's just like what we want to do. How can we build an even closer family? How can we bond ourselves and knit ourselves together even more to glorify the Lord together? And then the next category for me is church, and thinking about how I can better serve our church, or any ways that I can share any gifts that I have with the church. And so I'm going to be thinking about things like that. And then for YouTube has been such a surprise to me. I really wanted to share my first video, which was on why I left the CMEC. I felt very burdened to share that video. And I had filmed it in October of 2023. And then I just let it sit and I didn't do anything with it. And then in February, I thought, now is the time. I need to share this. People need to hear this. There's still no content like this on YouTube. So I just did it scared. I just edited the video and I was very secretive about it. I told my husband, because he was like, why are you on the computer so much? And I was like, I'm just nervous. I don't know why. I'm just nervous to share this. I'm nervous to put myself out there. And I didn't know what would happen. I felt burdened to share that, but I didn't really have a vision or a goal or a plan beyond that. I just had to turn my soup broth off. So I don't know where I was at, but I think I didn't have a vision or a goal beyond just posting that video and hopefully helping people to have a different perspective on the CMEC. And I'm just blown away at what God has done with this channel. And I'm just really surprised. I feel like I have not stopped being surprised or shocked. And I just want to thank you all so much for being here and for watching and for supporting me and for being so encouraging. All of the comments that I get are just so encouraging, and I read every single one and I appreciate every single one. So anyways, that's off topic, but YouTube, I'm just going to be writing down some goals that I have for posting more consistently and things like that. But I'm already just blown away with what God has done, and I hope you continue to stick around. And if there's anything that you want to see from me, please let me know, because like I said, I am just very continually surprised. It's hard to come up with ideas for like what you guys may want to see. So please just let me know if you have any ideas for me. Anyways, there are two more categories. So I have homeschool. My goal for last year was to just homeschool more diligently. So there were some things that happened last year that made homeschooling diligently hard. So it was just a goal for me to just be consistent, be diligent. There is an idea in Karen Andreola's book called Mother Culture, which is an amazing read and goes right along with this video. It's what even inspires this type of video for me. And she talks about just plodding along, how a faithful mother just plods along the path. So the path that I have set for my kids for this year for homeschool, I feel like that's where we are at. We're on holiday break right now, but we just plod along, even when I feel discontent, even when I want to look at the newest, shiniest curriculum. I'm just plodding along with what we've got and just hopefully, dropping one lesson into the bucket each day, just plodding along in faithfulness to what I've set out to do, to accomplish what I have already deemed as good and for my children, to continually point them to what is good and true and beautiful, and reading really good books and narrating and just plodding along in faithfulness. So that was my goal for last year, and I'm not sure what it's going to be for this year. Obviously, that's still a priority for me, but it does feel a lot more natural because it's become a habit. I think a big one for me for homeschool would be learning about and practicing and implementing a lot more classical education principles. So for me, that is learning a lot more about classical education, because I still feel like I just don't know enough. So honestly, my channel is more like, come with me as we learn about classical education together. I'm just really not an expert. I mean, I'm not an expert in anything, but I'm more comfortable with Charlotte Mason's pedagogy and principles and methods and things like that. And I just feel very new at classical education, and that's okay. But I want to dive even deeper and learn even more and become more versed in classical education. And then one that I didn't list here that I need to add is health. And that would be for me. So that would be just some health goals that I have, some health habits that I want to instill, some changes to make, and just overall health habits that I want to put down in writing so that I have something to reference, and of course making them manageable and realistic goals. So those are kind of the plans that I have for next year. And this is all kind of like mother culture. This is a mother's thinking love being kind of written down in paper, being broken down and planned out. And I'm also going to have a mother culture section, but mother culture for me, I cannot plan it out in just one of these little boxes. So I think I'm also going to make a mother culture printable planner. So just kind of helping you, I mean, myself and you guys, if you want to just plan out your mother culture for the year, to just have a little printable that kind of breaks down all these categories, or you can customize it to write your own categories. And then also this mother culture. So now I'm on a new sheet. And if you've noticed, I have not written anything down because like this is a process. This is like going to take me a week or so to put down all these things. It's going to take conversations with my husband, maybe with some friends, and just think through what I want next year to look like. And then mother culture is kind of its own thing. So mother culture for me, like planning it out, is more like what books do I want to read? What categories of books am I going to have? And then also some of the handicrafts and skills that I want to work on. I want to be sure to have some really challenging reads. I want to be sure to have like some very enjoyable reads and some practical reads, some theological reads. So if you have not seen my video on mother culture that I posted a couple months ago, I will link that one down below, but that kind of shows you what my approach to mother culture is. So for now, some of the books that I'm thinking about is the Anne of Green Gables series. I just finished the first book in the series and it was amazing and wonderful. Thank you to everyone who encouraged me to read that. It was such a beautiful read, and I need to put my commonplace quotes in my commonplace notebook because it was just such a beautiful, amazing read that it's gonna stick with me. So there's Anne of Green Gables, all of the books in those series. So I don't know how many books there are in the series, but I want to read all of them. I know I want to read some missionary stories, and then I'm going to put a category for like my challenging reads, and then I'm going to put a category for like my homeschooling, homemaking reads. In my video in the future, I will share like all of the books that I have planned and all of the exact categories, but this is just kind of a rough draft to get me thinking about it, to get you thinking about it if you want to do something similar. And so that's why I'm not sharing what's going in all of these, just because I don't know yet. And then I have thought quite a bit about the skills, the handicraft and skills. This is kind of like, you know, if the education is embodied and we are embodied souls, then like my body matters, and what I'm doing with my hands and eyes and all of those things, that matters. And so what are the skills that I want to be thinking of working on, practicing, getting better at for next year? For me, that would be knitting. I have really enjoyed knitting and I want to learn how to do a lot more stitches. So knitting, watercolor painting is always something that I want to be doing more of. So last year I started off doing watercolor painting on Sunday, Sabbath, rest days. I would make sure to do one painting every Sunday, Sabbath. So I think this year I will go into it giving myself the choice of knitting or watercolor painting on Sundays. So I read in, I think it's The Common Rule by Justin Whitmel Early, that if you have a job that uses your hands throughout the week, then on Sunday, Sabbath, you should rest your hands and do something with your mind. If you have something that uses your mind throughout the week, like if your job is just very, you know, heavy or mental, takes a lot of mental energy, then you should do something with your hands on Sundays. So for me, I feel like, I mean, my job is very hands-on, doing homeschooling and stuff like that, but I get to read a lot throughout the week, and I still am going to read on Sundays, but I also want to make knitting and watercolor painting a Sabbath priority. And then I also want to play my piano more. I played a lot when I was younger, and it's just slowly tapered off and off and off. And I sing at my church. I don't intend to play piano at my church. They already have talented piano players, but I would like to set the example for my children to practice their instruments more. So I want to play piano more this year, and I don't know what that looks like exactly, if that's me taking like online virtual lessons or just practicing songs that I know. But whatever it is, I want to play piano more. So those are kind of the skills that I want to work on with my hands in the mother culture realm. Some other categories that could be helpful to think about are your budget or your friendships. In fact, I may go back and add some of those categories for myself, because that would be nice to have set some goals for the budget, set some goals for friendship. So that is what I am thinking of right now. That is kind of the first phase of my planning. I would encourage you to do something similar. It doesn't have to be goals where you are setting all these huge goals that you might stop measuring by February, but just being more intentional about how you live your life, how you run your home, how your family runs, being more intentional about friendships and relationships, church, your health, if you have a hobby or a little side career, and thinking about what books you're going to read. All of those are good things, but should not stress us out. This should be an exciting process. I definitely look forward to this process every year. At the end of the year, kind of looking back and reflecting on what I did well this past year, what could use improvements, and then going into the new year with new resolve to be more virtuous, to seek out what is good and true and beautiful for our own souls, so that we can in turn cultivate that in the souls of our children. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do today. I hope that you don't feel like you're leaving this with a big to-do list, because that is not the heart of planning out our mother culture and planning out being more intentional in our homes. So with that, I hope that you all had a very Merry Christmas. I hope that you have some fun planning out your mother culture plans for next year, and I will see you in part 2 of this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.